A lone figure moves through the misty wilderness, Belgian Malinois at her side. The SEAL's trained eyes spot something impossible, an intact plane, hidden beneath years of overgrowth. No crash damage, no emergency landing signs. As she climbs into the cockpit, her flashlight reveals maps still pinned to boards, encrypted codes on dormant screens, personal items abandoned. Her dog paws frantically at a hidden compartment. Inside, classified documents that were never meant to be found. The truth about what happened in that Afghan village 7 years ago. The truth about why her husband never came home. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If you appreciate stories of courage and justice, consider subscribing for more military thrillers that honor those who serve. Dawn breaks over the Quinault Wilderness in Washington state, casting long shadows through ancient evergreens. A fine mist clings to the forest floor as Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell moves with practiced silence through the dense underbrush. Her Belgian Malinois, Ranger, keeps perfect pace at her side, both predators in silent synchronization. Their breath forms small clouds in the crisp morning air as they pause at the edge of a small clearing. Sarah's movements are precise and economical, unmistakably military, but with an intensity that suggests something beyond standard training. She kneels beside a fallen log, pulling out a weatherproof journal to make detailed notes. Her sketches capture terrain features and wildlife observations with remarkable accuracy. When she turns her head to scan the perimeter, the high collar of her tactical gear shifts slightly, revealing glimpses of scarred tissue along her neck before she adjusts it back into place. The forest around them is alive with morning sounds, birds calling to one another as the wilderness awakens. Ranger's ears twitch at each noise, but the dog remains disciplined, focused on their mission. This deep reconnaissance training exercise is routine for the pair, one of dozens they've completed together in remote locations around the country. Suddenly, Ranger freezes, ears forward, body rigid with alertness. Sarah immediately drops into a defensive posture, one hand instinctively moving to the sidearm holstered at her thigh. Her eyes follow the dog's intense gaze toward a densely overgrown ravine 50 meters below their position. She raises her binoculars, scanning methodically. Through breaks in the morning mist, an unnatural geometric shape emerges among the organic contours of the landscape, something that does not belong in this wilderness, something man-made. Sarah signals Ranger with a subtle hand gesture, and the dog moves forward in reconnaissance position, stopping every few meters to check the air currents for scents. They descend toward the ravine in tandem, taking a circuitous route that provides cover while approaching the anomaly. Years of training have made them extensions of each other. Where Sarah's human senses fail, Ranger's canine abilities fill in the gaps. As they draw closer, the shape becomes clearer through the vegetation. The distinctive profile of a plane emerges. Its once matte black surface now dulled by exposure and partially hidden beneath collapsed camouflage netting in years of natural growth. The scene is eerily quiet. No birds call from nearby trees. No insects buzz around the metal hulk. Only the occasional metallic creak breaks the silence as the morning sun warms cold surfaces. Sarah encircles the craft methodically, her trained eye noting details that tell a story. There's no crash damage. No signs of emergency landing procedures. The plane was deliberately placed here and hidden with professional care. The plane sits in perfect landing position, as if its pilot had simply set it down, walked away, and left it for nature to reclaim. After checking for booby traps and pressure sensors around the perimeter, Sarah approaches the plane itself. She examines the exterior first. No bullet holes, no mechanical failures evident. The registration numbers have been carefully removed, but faint impressions remain in the paint. She photographs these with a specialized lens attachment on her phone. Hold position, she commands Ranger softly. The dog takes up sentry duty as Sarah carefully climbs into the cockpit. The interior is remarkably preserved, dust-covered but intact. The control panels look operational, merely dormant. Maps are still secured to boards, showing locations in Afghanistan, with red circles marking specific compounds and villages. She finds a logbook wedged beneath the pilot's seat, its entries ending abruptly 7 years ago. The last notation reads only, Thanatos deployment authorized. God forgive us. In the pilot's seat, tucked into a small compartment clearly meant for personal items, she finds a worn photograph of a woman with short-cropped hair standing beside a man in flight gear. The woman's face is partially obscured by glare, but something about her stance seems familiar to Sarah. Beside the photo, a set of dog tags for Major J. Harper, USMC, clinks softly as she lifts them. Her fingers linger on the items, her expression unreadable but intense. She slips both the photo and the dog tags into her secure pocket. Outside, Ranger begins pawing aggressively at the plane's underbelly, whining with the particular tone that indicates he's found something significant. Sarah climbs down to investigate, discovering a loose panel beneath the pilot's seat access point. Using a multi-tool from her pack, she carefully pries it open. The hidden compartment contains a waterproof document case stamped umber black, the highest classification level in military intelligence. In a sleek titanium case with biometric locks. The combination suggests information never meant to be found by unauthorized personnel. Sarah photographs everything in place before carefully removing the items. A quick check of her watch shows the afternoon waning. Decisions must be made quickly. Command. This is Mitchell, she attempts through her secured radio. Priority discovery at map coordinates 437926. Requesting instructions. Only static answers her call. She checks the signal strength indicator. Full reception should be available in this location. The lack of response is concerning. As daylight begins to fade, Sarah makes the tactical decision to establish a temporary observation post 800 meters from the plane. She selects a position that provides clear sight lines to the aircraft and all potential approach routes, setting up minimal gear with Ranger maintaining perimeter security. She attempts 3 more radio calls using different encrypted frequencies and protocols, but receives only static in response. Her satellite phone, normally a reliable backup, shows no signal despite clear skies overhead. Both communication failures together suggest active signal jamming rather than equipment malfunction. Something's very wrong, boy, she murmurs to Ranger, who watches her with intelligent eyes. Either we've stumbled onto something classified beyond our clearance, or someone doesn't want us reporting what we found. Night has fully descended when Ranger growls softly beside her. The sound is low, a warning rather than an immediate alert. Sarah immediately extinguishes her small camp light and moves to higher ground, Ranger following silently at her heels. Through her night vision goggles, she spots multiple heat signatures moving systematically through the forest below. A professional search pattern designed to locate and contain. The figures carry tactical gear but were no identifying markers or uniform insignia, visible even through the enhanced optics. Their communication is silent, coordinated through hand signals similar to those used by special operations teams. Sarah counts 8 operators moving toward the plane site, with 2 more establishing containment positions to the north and south. This is no standard recovery team. The lack of insignia and communication silence suggests a deniable operation, someone searching for the plane without official authorization. Sarah quickly breaks camp, leaving subtle false trails before retreating higher into rocky terrain with Ranger. The limestone formations provide both cover and a reduction in heat signature that might fool infrared sensors. From her concealed vantage point, she watches as the black-clad figures surround the plane. They move with military precision, but follow no standard protocols she recognizes. 2 operators enter the plane's cockpit, while others establish a perimeter. Even from this distance, Sarah can sense their growing frustration as they search the compartments, finding them empty of the documents in case she removed. In her secure hiding spot, Sarah examines the titanium case more closely. The biometric lock requires a fingerprint and retinal scan she cannot provide. But her specialized training included methods for bypassing such systems. Using tools from her field kit, she carefully overrides the mechanical failsafes while leaving the electronic systems intact, a delicate procedure that takes nearly 40 minutes of concentrated effort. The case finally yields with a soft hiss of equalizing pressure. Inside, technical schematics for a weapon system codenamed Thanatos are meticulously detailed, along with a hardened military-grade thumb drive. She connects it to her ruggedized tablet, which automatically scans for malware before accessing the contents. The screen flickers to life with video logs from Major J. Harper. The man in the recordings matches the flight gear-clad figure from the photograph. Strong features, determined eyes that nonetheless show signs of profound stress. The earliest logs detail the development of Thanatos, described as an atmospheric incendiary system designed for infrastructure preservation while achieving complete personnel neutralization. The final entry shows Harper with haunted eyes explaining that the weapon was tested without proper authorization on an Afghan village, resulting in 47 civilian casualties. Senior command had ordered all records destroyed, all witnesses silenced. Harper states his intention to become a whistleblower, to bring the truth to light regardless of personal consequences. This wasn't combat, he says in the recording, his voice tight with controlled rage. This was a field test on unknowing subjects. The weapon functioned exactly as designed. It burned the oxygen from their lungs while leaving structures intact, perfect for clearing buildings without damaging infrastructure. But the collateral damage was, he pauses, struggling for composure, unacceptable by any measure of military ethics or human decency. The log ends abruptly with sounds of an approaching plane and Harper reaching for his sidearm. Before the video cuts, he speaks a final sentence. "Lieutenant Mitchell is the only one I trust with this. If anything happens to me, the screen goes black." Sarah's fingers unconsciously touch the scars on her neck, her eyes fixed on the darkened screen for long moments. Her expression shifts from shock to grim determination as pieces of a puzzle 7 years in the making begin falling into place. Dawn breaks over the mountains as Sarah packs the evidence securely. She spots the first drone when its shadow passes over a clearing to her east, a military-grade surveillance model sweeping the area in search patterns. Within minutes, a second drone appears from the south, then a third from the west. The coordinated search pattern suggests significant resources deployed to find her. Her secure SEAL transponder, a device meant to identify her to friendly forces and prevent friendly fire incidents, suddenly activates without her input. The small device at her belt emits a steady pulse, broadcasting her location rather than maintaining its usual encrypted passive state. Sarah quickly disables it, the realization sinking in that she's being hunted by her own people, or at least by people with access to military protocols and override codes. The magnitude of what she's discovered settles over her like a physical weight. "They're coming for us, Ranger," she whispers, running her hand along the dog's muscular shoulder. "And they won't stop until they have what we found." For 3 days, Sarah and Ranger execute textbook evasion tactics through the wilderness. They move only at night, using natural terrain features to shield their heat signatures from the drones that patrol overhead during daylight hours. The search has intensified, with plane sweeps joining the drones during daybreak and dusk when thermal imaging is less effective. During daylight hours, they hide in carefully prepared positions, Ranger keeping watch while Sarah studies the recovered documents. The technical schematics reveal Thanatos to be far more advanced than she initially feared. The weapon was designed to create a rapidly expanding oxygen-depleted zone that effectively suffocated any living being within its radius while leaving structures completely intact, perfect for clearing buildings or compounds without destroying valuable infrastructure or intelligence materials. According to deployment notes, the Afghan village was selected as a test site because satellite imagery had identified structural similarities to urban targets of interest. The authorization documents lacked proper command signatures, suggesting the test had been conducted outside the normal chain of command. 47 civilians had been sacrificed not in combat, but in a weapons test disguised as a standard military operation against insurgents. On the morning of the third day, Sarah carefully approaches the eastern boundary of the wilderness area. A rural highway cuts through the forest ahead, forming the border of the military land where she had been conducting her training exercise. Under normal circumstances, this would be her extraction point, where a nondescript vehicle would collect her and Ranger, ending their wilderness training session. But as she surveys from cover, she sees vehicles converging from both directions, black SUVs and unmarked military transports taking positions at quarter-mile intervals. They've anticipated her route and established a containment perimeter. Standard special operations procedure for capturing a high-value target. Sarah retreats into the tree line, processing her options. The titanium case and its contents weigh heavily in her pack. The evidence it contains could expose crimes committed by senior military officials, but only if she can get it to people who will act on it rather than bury it deeper. After 7 years of searching, she cannot allow it to be recaptured now. She kneels beside Ranger, making her decision. From her pack, she removes several weatherproof memory cards containing copies of the most damning evidence. She secures them in a special compartment in the dog's tactical vest, along with a handwritten note containing coordinates and contact information. Contingency plan, boy, she whispers, running her hand along the dog's muscular neck. With precise hand signals and whispered commands, she programs her partner with his mission. Ranger's eyes never leave hers, the bond between handler and military working dog transcending ordinary training. With a final silent command, she sends the dog racing away through the underbrush, moving perpendicular to the highway where the vehicles wait. If she is captured, Ranger knows where to go, who to find. It is a desperate gambit, but one they have trained for. After ensuring Ranger has disappeared into the forest, Sarah steels herself. She secures her sidearm in her holster, but leaves it unsnapped for quick access if needed. Then, carrying her pack containing the original evidence, she walks openly onto the highway, hands visible at her sides. The reaction is immediate. Vehicles screech to life, converging on her position from both directions. Tactical teams deploy with military precision, weapons trained on her from multiple angles. Their gear is unmarked but top-grade military issue. Their movement suggests special operations training. From the lead SUV emerges a figure that makes Sarah's jaw tighten imperceptibly. Colonel David Reynolds, silver-haired and distinguished in his immaculate uniform, moves with the confidence of someone accustomed to absolute authority. She recognizes him immediately from intelligence briefings, though they've never met personally. Deputy Director of Special Weapons Development, with connections throughout the military intelligence community. Stand down, he orders his men as he approaches Sarah alone. We've been looking for you, Lieutenant. I imagine you have, Sarah replies coolly, her posture relaxed despite the weapons aimed at her. Finding your plane must have set off quite a few alarms. Reynolds studies her with clinical detachment, stopping a few paces away. It's interesting, most people would have reported such a discovery immediately. Yet, you chose to investigate alone, almost as if you knew what you might find. Standard reconnaissance protocol, Colonel. Assess before reporting. No. Reynolds shakes his head slowly, beginning to circle her like a predator evaluating prey. There's nothing standard about you, is there, Major Harper? The name hits Sarah like a physical blow, though her expression betrays nothing. Inside, her mind races. Her cover identity as Sarah Mitchell has withstood countless security clearance reviews. For Reynolds to know her true name means he has resources beyond normal military channels. You seem confused, Colonel, she responds evenly. My name is Lieutenant Mitchell. Check my service record. Reynolds produces a tablet from his aide, turning it to show her a file photo. It shows a younger version of herself in a different uniform, hair styled differently, but unmistakably her. Major Sarah Harper, military intelligence, specialized in advanced weapons assessment, presumed dead in the same incident that killed your husband. Reynolds' cold smile broadened slightly. Did you think changing your name and joining the SEALs would hide you forever? The burn scars on your neck are quite distinctive, even after reconstructive surgery. Sarah's hand instinctively moves toward her collar before she forces it back down. The game is over. 7 years of carefully constructed identity, of working her way through special forces training, of positioning herself to access classified areas, all to find the truth about what happened to her husband, all exposed in an instant. The incident you engineered, she responds, voice steady despite the emotion churning beneath. Not a combat operation, a weapons test. A regrettable field test with unexpected results, Reynolds corrects smoothly. National security requires difficult decisions, Major. Surely someone with your background understands that. 47 civilians and my husband weren't killed in the strike. He was eliminated after, wasn't he, for planning to expose you. Reynolds' expression hardens momentarily before returning to professional detachment. He gestures to the wilderness behind her. The plane wasn't carelessly hidden, Major. It was placed there 6 weeks ago. We've been tracking your search patterns for years, watching you work your way through classified zones under your new identity. We knew eventually you'd find our breadcrumbs. The realization washes over Sarah like ice water. You used me to find what Harper hid, the complete Thanatos files, the evidence he scattered before you killed him. And now you've led us right to it, Reynolds confirms, his voice almost appreciative. Where's the case, Major? The original drive? We've been searching for those particular items for 7 years. Gone? Sarah lies smoothly. Destroyed years ago when I realized what I'd found. Reynolds signals his men, who begin approaching with restraints. I don't believe you, but we have time to discuss it properly at a secure location. Sarah gauges her options. 6 armed operators approaching, more in the vehicles. Fighting would be suicide, and would risk the evidence being destroyed in the process. Her mission was never to die for the truth, but to expose it. She needs to stay alive long enough for Ranger to complete his mission. As the men close in, a sharp whistle pierces the air, not from Sarah, but from the forest edge 30 yards away. Heads turn as Ranger reappears from the tree line, but the dog isn't alone. 3 figures emerge behind him. 2 carry professional camera equipment, already filming the scene. The third, a woman in a federal marshal's uniform, holds up credentials. Colonel Reynolds, the marshal calls out, her voice carrying with official authority. I'm Federal Marshal Laura Bennett with documents from the Justice Department. Your operation has not been authorized by any legal authority, and you are currently detaining a U.S. service member without jurisdiction. Reynolds' face darkens with fury. This is a classified military operation, Marshal. You have no authority here. Not according to the Joint Chiefs, Bennett responds, approaching cautiously with her credentials still displayed. We received quite an interesting data packet 6 hours ago. Enough to convince a federal judge to issue an emergency order preventing any detention of Lieutenant Mitchell by your team. Sarah suppresses a smile of satisfaction. Her contingency plan had worked perfectly. When she first discovered the plane, she had activated a secure protocol established years ago with contacts from her previous life. If she missed scheduled check-ins, evidence she had accumulated would be automatically forwarded to specific individuals in law enforcement and military oversight. Reynolds turns to her, comprehension dawning. You knew we were coming. This entire evasion was a delay tactic. 3 days was all I needed, Sarah confirms, long enough for the evidence to reach people who couldn't be bought or threatened. With careful movements, Sarah slowly removes her high-collar jacket, fully revealing extensive burn scars covering her neck and upper chest. The damage is extensive, the kind that comes from being caught at the edge of an inferno. I was in that village, Colonel. Humanitarian mission with Doctors Beyond Borders. I watched your weapon burn everyone around me while I hid underwater in an irrigation ditch. I've carried their screams for 7 years. Reynolds' eyes widen slightly as he looks more carefully at her face, then back at the tablet with her service photo. The woman in the photograph. With Harper, not as a wife. As an operator working alongside my husband, Sarah finishes. Harper recognized me in the casualty reports, but kept it secret. He helped me recover, gave me a new identity. Then he started gathering evidence against you and your Thanatos project. When he disappeared, I continued his mission. Reynolds' tactical team shifts nervously, some lowering their weapons slightly as the cameras continue recording. Their commander's expression hardens as he realizes his position weakening. You have no idea what you're interfering with, he hisses. Thanatos represents a strategic advantage this country desperately needs. We are facing threats that conventional weapons cannot address. Threats that justify testing weapons on civilians, Sarah challenges, killing your own operators to maintain secrecy. Those aren't the values I swore to defend, Colonel. The standoff is suddenly interrupted by the distinctive sound of plane rotors approaching rapidly from the east. 3 Black Hawks appear over the tree line, bearing proper military police insignia. They circle once before landing on the highway, rotors kicking up dust as they disgorge teams of MPs in full tactical gear. Leading them is a figure that causes even Reynolds to straighten instinctively. Admiral Rachel Carter, stern-faced and ramrod straight, medals gleaming on her dress uniform despite the field conditions. As the head of Naval Special Warfare Command, her presence suggests intervention from the highest levels. Colonel Reynolds, Carter announces, her voice carrying even over the waning rotor noise. By order of the Joint Chiefs, you are relieved of command pending investigation into unauthorized weapons testing and the falsification of combat reports. Reynolds' men hesitate, weapons still raised but now caught between conflicting chains of command. The situation has become dangerously unstable. Stand down, Carter commands with absolute authority, or face charges of mutiny in addition to conspiracy. One by one, the tactical team lowers their weapons. Military police move in to secure them, while 2 senior officers approach Reynolds directly. As they place him in restraints, he locks eyes with Sarah one final time. This isn't over, he tells her quietly. Some secrets stay buried for national security. Not this one, Sarah responds, Ranger returning to her side as she speaks. Not anymore. As Reynolds is escorted away, Admiral Rachel Carter approaches Sarah, who stands at parade rest despite her exhaustion, Ranger vigilant at her side. The dog's ears remain alert, his training too ingrained to relax even as the immediate threat dissipates. Around them, military police secure the scene, processing Reynolds' team and establishing a perimeter. Lieutenant Mitchell, or should I say Major Harper, Carter begins, her tone professional, but not unkind. Her eyes briefly take in Sarah's revealed scars before returning to her face with the respect of one warrior acknowledging another. Your transmission reached the Joint Chiefs directly. I was dispatched personally when the contents were verified. Sarah maintains her formal stance. Admiral, I can explain my actions. Your actions likely prevented a serious breach of military ethics from remaining buried, Carter responds. The Thanatos project was never authorized at command level. The village incident was reported as a conventional strike against insurgents, with all civilian casualties attributed to enemy action. From her pocket, Carter produces a set of dog tags that glint in the morning light. Your husband's remains were recovered from what was classified as an aircraft accident and buried under a false identity in a military cemetery in Virginia. A proper military burial with full honors will be arranged immediately. Sarah takes the tags, closing her fist around them. The metal is cool against her palm, the last physical connection to the man she had loved, the partner whose mission she had continued. For a moment, her carefully maintained composure wavers. And the others responsible, she asks, her voice steady despite the emotion tightening her throat. The investigation begins today, Carter assures her. Reynolds wasn't acting alone. We've already identified several senior officials who approved funding for Thanatos outside proper channels. The Joint Chiefs have authorized a complete review of all classified weapons programs initiated during that period. Carter glances at the backpack containing the titanium case. I need to know, Major. What else did you find? The complete technical specifications for Thanatos. Destroyed, Sarah confirms without hesitation. The world doesn't need that weapon. I kept only what was necessary to prove what happened to those civilians and to my husband. Carter studies her for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she nods once, decisively. I believe you. She straightens and offers Sarah a formal salute. Your country failed you both, Major, but today, you saved us from ourselves. Sarah returns the salute, 7 years of vigilance and determination culminating in this moment of vindication. As she lowers her hand, a weight seems to lift from her shoulders, though not completely. Justice has begun its process, but there is still much to be done. What happens now, Admiral? She asks. Now, Major Harper, we begin to make things right, starting with restoring your true identity and rank. Carter gestures to the plane. We have a lot to discuss on the flight back to Washington. 6 months later, Arlington National Cemetery is quiet in the early morning light. A military honor guard stands at attention beside a flag-draped coffin, positioned above a freshly dug grave. The headstone reads, Major J. Harper, USMC, Defender of Truth, Ultimate Sacrifice. Sarah stands nearby, wearing her naval uniform with restored rank insignia. The scars on her neck are visible above her collar, no longer hidden. Around her neck hang 2 sets of dog tags, her husband's and her own. Ranger sits at perfect attention beside her, his training evident even in this solemn setting. The ceremony proceeds with formal military precision. A chaplain speaks of duty and sacrifice. The honor guard folds the flag with practiced movements, presenting it to Sarah with solemn respect. A rifle salute cracks through the morning air, 7 years delayed, but finally acknowledging the true nature of J. Harper's sacrifice. As the ceremony concludes and other mourners begin to disperse, Sarah remains by the grave. She kneels beside the fresh earth, Ranger maintaining his position at her side. From her pocket, she removes the worn photograph found in the plane, the one showing herself and Harper standing together in Afghanistan before everything changed. She places it carefully against the headstone, a private moment of remembrance. From a respectful distance, several high-ranking military officials observe the scene, including Admiral Rachel Carter. The investigation she promised has been thorough and uncompromising. 8 senior officials have been indicted for their roles in the Thanatos project and subsequent cover-up. The families of the village victims have received formal acknowledgement of the truth and significant reparations, though nothing can truly compensate for their loss. When most mourners have gone, Carter approaches Sarah, who rises to acknowledge her presence. The last of the indictments was confirmed yesterday, Carter informs her. The Congressional Oversight Committee has been fully briefed. There will be no more cover-ups. Sarah nods silently, her eyes still drawn to the grave and the finality it represents. The Joint Chiefs have approved the establishment of a new division, Carter continues. Military ethics and accountability, directly answerable to civilian oversight, with authority to investigate any operational concerns without interference from the chain of command. She pauses, watching Sarah carefully. We need someone to lead it, Major. Someone who understands the complex balance between national security and ethical action. Someone who has proven they will stand for truth, no matter the cost. Before Sarah can respond, Ranger alerts to newcomers approaching from the east side of the cemetery. A group of young female SEAL candidates in training uniforms has appeared, waiting respectfully at a distance. They recognize Sarah, standing straighter as she notices them. Their presence here is irregular, a deviation from their training schedule that must have required special permission. Your story has already changed things, Carter observes, following Sarah's gaze. Applications from women to Special Forces programs have doubled in the past 3 months. These candidates specifically cited you as their inspiration. Sarah watches the young women, seeing in them the same determination she had felt when she began her own journey. Not just to serve, but to uphold the principles that military service should embody. In their eyes, she recognizes a familiar fire, the commitment to be not just warriors, but guardians of something greater than themselves. When do I start? She asks, turning back to Carter. The office is being established now. You'll have complete autonomy in selecting your team and establishing protocols. Carter extends her hand. You've earned this, Major Harper, not just the position, but the chance to ensure what happened to you and your husband never happens again. Sarah accepts the handshake, the decision feeling right in a way few things have since that day in Afghanistan 7 years ago. Her mission to uncover the truth about her husband's death has evolved into something larger, a commitment to institutional integrity that could save lives and preserve the honor of the service they both loved. As she walks away from the grave with Ranger at her side, she passes the SEAL candidates. They offer subtle nods of respect, one whispering to another as they recognize the woman whose story has become legend within the Special Forces community. Sarah acknowledges them with a small gesture, a connection between past sacrifice and future possibility. Ma'am, one of the candidates steps forward slightly. We just wanted to say thank you for showing us what it really means to serve. Sarah pauses, studying the young woman, whose eyes burn with determination. Honor the oath, not just the orders, she tells her, words Harper had once spoken that had guided her through her darkest moments. Remember why you wear the uniform. The candidate straightens. Yes, ma'am. As Sarah continues toward the cemetery gates where a vehicle waits to take her to her new assignment, she feels Harper's presence with each step. The weight of his dog tags against her chest is no longer a burden of grief and unresolved justice, but a reminder of purpose. His mission, now completed, has transformed into her new beginning. Admiral Carter falls into step beside her. The Ethics Division will need a proper name, something meaningful. Sarah considers for a moment, then replies, Project Harper, to honor everyone who paid the price for the truth. Carter nods approvingly. Project Harper, it is. The cemetery grounds give way to the administration buildings beyond. Sarah pauses at the threshold, looking back once more at the distant grave where one chapter has finally closed. Ranger stands attentive at her side, ever vigilant, ever loyal, a reminder that even in the darkest operations, bonds of trust and integrity remain essential. Washington, D.C. spreads before them, the Pentagon visible in the distance where her new office awaits. The horizon seems clearer now, the path forward defined by purpose rather than vengeance. The justice she saw for her husband has evolved into a mission to protect the values that both of them had sworn to defend. 6 weeks later, the newly established offices of Project Harper occupy a secure wing of the Pentagon. The space hums with purposeful activity as Sarah's hand-picked team reviews case files of potential ethics violations from across all military branches. On the wall hangs a simple framed photograph of the Afghan village before its destruction. A constant reminder of why their work matters. Sarah stands at the window, watching a spring rain wash over the capital city. Ranger lies at her feet, ever present, ever watchful. On her desk sits a dossier marked urgent, the first major case approved for full investigation by her team. The file details suspicious discrepancies in reports from a classified operation in Southeast Asia, echoes of the same pattern that had hidden Thanatos. A knock at her door pulls her attention from the rain. Captain Emily Larson, formerly a JAG Corps prosecutor and now Sarah's deputy director, enters with determined strides. The Oversight Committee has approved our request for access to the classified files, Larson reports. We move at 0800 tomorrow. Sarah nods. Assemble the team for final briefing. This one feels like Thanatos all over again. Someone's hiding something they shouldn't. Are we expecting resistance? Larson asks, already knowing the answer. Count on it, Sarah responds, turning back to the window. But this time, the truth has institutional backing, and we have something Harper never had. What's that, Major? Sarah's reflection in the glass shows a woman transformed by grief and purpose into something formidable. The scars on her neck are visible, no longer hidden, a testament to what she survived and why she fights. We have the authority to kick in doors instead of trying to sneak through them, she answers. And we have a team that understands the cost of silence. As Larson leaves to prepare the team, Sarah kneels beside Ranger, scratching behind his ears. The dog has been with her through every step of her journey, from the wilderness where they found the plane, to this office where they now continue the mission in a different form. What do you think, boy? Ready to make some noise for the quiet ones who can't speak for themselves? Ranger's intelligent eyes meet hers with the same loyalty and determination that has carried them through impossible odds. Outside, the rain begins to clear, sunlight breaking through the clouds over the capital. Justice, like healing, comes slowly, in fragments of light piercing through darkness. But it comes nonetheless to those with the courage to demand it. Sarah stands, decision made, purpose renewed. The mission continues, not for vengeance now, but for protection, for the oath they all took, for the quiet heroes like Harper, who paid the ultimate price for standing on principle, and for those still serving who deserve leaders worthy of their sacrifice. The scars on her neck will always remind her of what was lost. But her work now focuses on what can still be saved, the integrity of institutions, the principles that must guide power. The truth that must never again be buried for convenience or ambition. From her desk, she picks up the case file and walks toward the conference room where her team awaits. The path forward is clear, illuminated by a purpose that transcends personal vengeance. Harper would be proud, and that, more than any medal or recognition, is the validation that matters most.